All right, we're going to get into SSUV's Udims section, and we're going to be quick about it. The other video is quite long. I think that Udym users can pick things up much faster. So let's just dive right in and get it done. All right, so I have a top of a treasure chest selected here. I'm going to just click the preview image to get a unwrap modifier loaded, and we're going to get into gear. So I'm going to select that. I'm going to right click the image to get the UV editor window up. And we're going to just size this a little bit. Now at this point, I'm going to use these arrows to move around the Udym. Okay. Now at this point, I can also just select everything here, and I can right click and move it to the Udym I'd like to take it to. Now this grid is small right now. I'm going to make it bigger. I'd like to also provide it with the ability to render out the images easily, or even have them pre-loaded into it as small size so you can at least see what's populated and what's not, and update it in real time, just so it feels like it's more functional. And at this point, we have that. Right click. If we wanted to preview that image, well, you see that that is already there. So that's U1V1. Every time we move it to a new UV, it updates and it shows us the UV that it's currently on, right? So I can now left click U1V1, and you can see nothing's there. We see some lines here because there's vertices that are on the exact 1.0 line, but they're not in the other space anyhow. It's just how Max renders out the images. Okay, so now I can right click and place it here, way up here at 10.5. And I can render 1 and then move it back to 1, and there you go. All right, so you get the idea. I'm going to now go into a different section here. I'm going to select all of these. Let's clear that out and move that out of the way. Now I'm going to use the Udym Endless Stackers section here. UV method I'm going to choose is 45 super flatten. We're going to start at Udym 1, 1. I'm going to create a column limit of 5. Well, let's do a column limit of 3. And we'll work with map channel 3. Control and click to process. And that took a few seconds, maybe 7 or 8. And here we are. That's our result. 3 columns, because we set a column limit of 3, and then it stacks vertically. So you can have however many, which way you're able to support, right? Granted, it's rather generic, but that's the way this is. So if we actually take this, we can start this at U4. Well, let's just do 3 since we're using the number 3 for a lot of these. We'll start at 3, 3. We have 3 and 3. Now, up here on the modifier, you see Udym U1V1 channel 3 45 super flatten. So that means, well, this is an unwrapped modifier that's been renamed. So this is Udym, and it starts at U1V1. There's channel 3, and then 45 super flatten was used for the algorithm. Now, the packing, after it's flattened and solved, it's going to use the selected solver that you have is set as default in the Choose UV solver, which I leave at LSCM. And then it's going to use the settings that you have in the SSUV rollout or the SSUV floater. You get the idea here. So your solver and your packer settings, and then we have the element creating selection set, right? So we had 45 there. So let's go ahead and process this with U3V3. Control click. Okay, and that took about 7-8 seconds. So now I'm going to zoom out, and you can see here that we have placed the first Udym at 1, 2, 3. That's U3V3. And we have 3 columns, and those stack up as far as we want to take them. Now, when you're using endless stacks, you can select the position of where you would like your starting UV to be. Currently, it doesn't support placing one object in a position, but if you have 2 objects, you can begin a position. I'll have to fix it so it begins, or it starts working with one Udym again. I'm not sure why it's not working. It was, I think, in 2021 or 2022. I could be wrong. So let's continue on. You see that created Udym U3V3 channel 3 45 super flatten. That's because we started at that Udym, and that's the map channel that we were using, right? So it's very informative to have those. We don't need to keep them around. We don't need to do all sorts of mishmash about it all. The next one is nicer. We have wire color systems. So we click this button and we get a new dialog. So let's move this over to the side. What I'm going to do now is click this open wire color helper. Let's close that out just to get it out of the way. I'm going to select those four, assign red, assign blue. Well, let's do that blue. Do this green. And we'll do this pink. And I don't know, we'll assign whatever that is. There we go. All right, so now that we've assigned a bunch of colors, we can, these are wireframe colors, so we can actually select all of these. And I'm just going to get a material, general, physical. I'm going to now apply that to the selection so you can see that they are wireframe colors. Great, let's move on. So I'm going to select all of these objects because I would like to work with them in the Udims space. I'm going to click Load Objects into Panel, and this will select all of the objects and sort them into groups based upon the colors, right? So we have, this will be row 1, this will be row 2, and the rows can be as long as you want them to be. It can go to U100 if you like, but obviously if you're not supporting anything beyond 10 or whatever you're doing, you know, take care of what you have to take care of. So we have purple, green, blue, red, beige, and periwinkle. I'm not sure. We can turn periwinkle off to no selection and place periwinkle on 10. And there we go. Now, let's see. There's some other information here, so we can scroll this to actually select objects if we have this turned on. So as we select here, you see that the objects are being selected for us. Okay. But we can turn that off and just use this as information to see which objects are which color. So these are generically named object, but if it's your model, that's going to be specific names and maybe even what Udym they have to be on. So this allows you to filter through and make sure things are set correctly. And while you're doing that, maybe you keep this wire color open so that you can be sure that you're setting the correct row color for whatever items you have to do. All right, so let's continue on. We have to jump right into this. Okay, so what I want to do with these is we're going to use a UV packing method. We don't need to, but we're going to. So no repack is turned off. Our pack settings are already determined. Tongue twister there. Already determined. I'm going to do packing for the map channel of, let's just keep it on 1. That's fine. And at this point, I don't need a control click. The reason for that is because it's a dialog of its own, so you're not going to mistakenly click it. At least I hope not. You have to actually open the dialog to mistakenly click it. So we're processing, and once we're done processing, see how quick that was? We can close out the completed window, and then we look at what we have for a result. So we have purple in the first row, green, blue, red, just like you see here. And if we go to row 10, we see periwinkle. So if we turn on the Udims, you can see U1V10, and that's row 10. There we go. So if you need to then append more blue color onto this row, I suggest that you use the endless stacks method. That way you can begin at U4V3. And then you can add U4V5, U4, and there you go. That's your Udym method with that. We can close this out now. I'm not sure if there's anything else to mention here. This functions same as the other one. I think you guys can just get through this and figure things out. Yeah, I think that's good to go. So if you guys would like to see something different, something tweaked, added, or you have a different method, make a video, show or find some way to show me, make up a Photoshop sketch. I don't know, whatever you need to do. Let me know. I'd be happy to add some more stuff to this tool set. Okay. Lastly, we have scale all Udims. So let's actually open the floater, right click the floater, get the editor. What we're going to do here is select, well, we don't need to select these actually. I'm going to zoom in on the Udims here. You can see that we're not filling up that space just perfectly, right? So what I'm going to do is set this to If I can get that cleaned up. That's a little tricky to clean up. All right, so there we go. We can scale all Udims. And that was a little too big. So we're going to clean that out again. Yeah. 0.98. I'm not sure. Then we can scale them down. There we go. That looks pretty good. Nice. For anyone who is not familiar with the Udims system or how to implement Udims, you want more information or an example file, there is a debug Udim file that I created. I shared information about this in the 3DS stack, the stack group on Facebook. Yeah. Let's open up the information image so you can get a preview of what that looks like. There's a directions file. There's directions in scene as well. And there's information about the material and loading up Udims. Okay. If there's more information on Udims and the Udim process that you would like to see, let me know. Let me know. That's it.